recall that I did. So
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I have never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay.
That was not good. That was not good. Okay.
In this video, Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks covers the recent congressional questioning of NPR's CEO. Anna Kasparian is blown away by the endless tweets posted by this woman, shouting every far-left talking point and signaling her hatred of white people and men. With that, let's watch Anna Kasparian go full MAGA and call out this lady's anti-white racism.
Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. Ha, how white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
All right. That was NPR CEO Catherine Marr struggling to answer for some of her personal social media posts as she was getting grilled by Republican Congressman Brandon Gill. That was the individual that you saw in the video. He's from Texas. Now, for me, the whole exchange really did highlight something that's been going on in this country in regard to corporate executives, various companies, and yes, even in this case, heads of, media organizations that get some of their funding from the federal government. Now, let me be clear. The whole purpose of this hearing, it was a DOGE hearing. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the head of the DOGE committee in the House of Representatives. So they do this hearing where they start grilling the presidents of, or in the case of NPR, it's CEO Catherine Marr, and then the PBS president, Paula Kerger. Both organizations receive some federal funding, and Republicans are looking to save money by rolling back that funding, basically cutting them off entirely. I don't know why NPR takes the money. They only get 1% of their funding from the federal government. So if I were the CEO of NPR, my take would be, we're gonna be aight without the 1%. I don't want to deal with Congress. I don't want to deal with this mess, okay? I just want to be done with it. So we'll find our resources someplace else, okay? We'll do.
I don't know how many people watching this saw this hearing, but it was pretty satisfying. You saw that small clip there of the CEO having to take accountability for some of her tweets. It was pretty crazy. They'd say, did you tweet this? Obviously reading it from her Twitter account, she'd be like, I don't remember saying that or thinking it. And then they're like, well, it says it right here. And every single tweet was, like I said in the intro, every far left talking point, patriarchy, white men bad, white privilege. And her only defense was, well, my thinking has evolved since then, and I don't feel that way. So she tweets all this crazy far left stuff and then says, well, I've changed my thinking now. That would be like me in 2 years being interviewed, which of course, I know no one's going to want to interview me, but if I were interviewed and I was like, oh, yeah, I think, we need to hang LGBTQ flags in every school. Kids should have trans surgeries. It's a medical necessity. Basically the opposite of everything I say on here now, So while I appreciate that she's like, well, I don't think like that anymore. It's kind of hard to believe, isn't it? I could see someone going from super far left to moderate left, but I can't see him going the complete opposite direction or even center. I mean, I think it is pretty rare that you see a progressive be like, all right, I'm going to be a right winger now. Not to mention they found out that like every single contributor they have there, every single one of them, I don't want to misquote the number, like 47 or 48, everyone was a registered Democrat. God, there's so much to talk about with this hearing, but maybe we'll get to more of this stuff and we'll see what else Anna has to say.
Do an extra fundraiser. Anything to avoid this annoying politicized nonsense. That's my take on it. PBS is a little bit of a different story. They receive 15% of their funding from the federal government. So they stand to really be harmed by what Republicans in the House are trying to do here. And it's frustrating because I actually think PBS is very different from NPR in terms of the quality of journalism. Frontline documentaries, they've got a whole channel on YouTube. Please check it out. Their documentaries are excellent, in depth, hard hitting, really important information. Now, NPR does some good reporting, I'm sure, but it's just, I see the argument. I partly agree with the argument that you kind of get one side of the story with NPR sometimes. And I don't appreciate that. And especially if you're receiving federal resources, you really should be fair in how you cover certain issues or certain stories. So, with all of that context in mind, I just thought this exchange with Catherine Marr was fascinating because she did put these posts on X, Twitter at the time, and she's having a difficult time, defending them. So let's just watch a little more of what happened. Take a look.
Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
I apologize.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did. So
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I have never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay.
That was not good. That was not good. Okay, so she didn't read that book. She wanted credit for allegedly reading that book, which is why she did the virtue signal tweet about like, I'm a goodie. I'm not a baddie. I'm a goodie. I read The Case for Reparations, and then forgot that she lied about that. And then 5 years later, a Republican congressman is asking her about it, and she's like, I never read that book. I just wanted to do the equivalent of putting a Black Lives Matter sign in front of my business without really giving a damn, really. I just wanted to engage in that performative stuff and get credit for that. It was bad, okay? Now, look, that congressman, Brandon Gill, he came prepared. Not every Republican came prepared, and you're gonna get a little taste of that in just a minute, okay? But before we do, I thought this other exchange with Congressman Gill was really interesting, right? Because when it comes to the...
I'm sorry, but I have to focus on that whole thing about her saying, I read A Case for Reparations, then said, I don't believe I've ever read that book. And then he reads a tweet where she said, I took a day off work to read it. First of all, you sound really dedicated to your work if you took a day off to read a stupid book like that. I'm so dense. I thought, yeah, she read it and said that, but she just doesn't even remember it. But I'm an idiot because Anna's right. She didn't read the book. She wanted credit for being a good anti-racist person by signaling that I read this book, so I'm one of the good white people. But then it dawned on me, imagine lying so much that you can't remember a book you lied about reading. And made a spectacle about it. You said, I took a day off of work to read this. And this country's all about black plunder or whatever it is. I mean, to me, that speaks a ton to her character. I mean, I could just clown on her about her views saying, I read The Case for Reparations and white people are bad. That'd be one thing, but that would just mean, you're brainwashed and you, for some reason, have bought into this all white people are bad thing. But this is actually worse. I mean, this is her being extremely deceptive and trying to convince people of what a good white person she is. And what did that get her? Like, what was that lie worth it to have it come back and bite you now? Again, if she had read it, it is what it is, and she could talk about it, but to lie about it, what did you impress? 6 people on Twitter that were like, what a wonderful lady. No one else even cared. Anyway, let's wrap up the video.
Performative, virtue signaling stuff. She engaged in it. We have evidence. This is the tweet that he was referencing. Yes, the North. Yes, all of us. Yes, America. Yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt. Yes, reparations. Yes, on the stage. So she did tweet these things and had difficulty denying it, right? She's stumbling. She's bumbling. She's saying she evolved from those positions. Interesting. Okay. But she had a quick answer when he asked her something else. Let's take a look at that.
Miss Marr, I want to start with you. Just generally, would you say you generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles.
I would not say I agree with that, sir.
That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism.
I didn't see the examples of the economic Marxism at all. In fact, she was real quick to deny that and say, I disagree with that.
Don't get me wrong, this is super fun to watch. It's always fun to watch people have to own up to the ridiculous things they post that only a small percentage of lunatics really, that cater to really only a small percentage of lunatics that buy into this garbage. But Anna is so right about one thing. You get 1% of your funding from the federal government. You could have avoided all this headache. You could have continued to tweet how bad white people are. It's a free country, but just don't take that. Just don't take the money from the government. Absolutely keep conducting a far left propagandist show. Seriously, that's your right. But why would you involve the government in this so they can scrutinize everything you do? And not to have the foresight that, okay, if we're going to take money from the government, we better at least try to appear balanced. But they did the opposite of make any effort to try to appear balanced. But we want to hear from you. Did you see these congressional hearings? Did you see the questioning? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? And do you agree or disagree that the government shouldn't be funding propaganda machines for the right or the left? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you in the next one.